Well, good morning and welcome back to Beyond Sunday Morning, a video devotional that we do here at Temple in order to encourage you to take what we do on Sunday morning and to live it out in your day-to-day experiences so that church isn't just an event that you go to, it's a lifestyle. It's the way you see the world and how you interact with it. Well, for the past several weeks, we've been talking about spiritual formation. It's about growing that inner life as a way for that what happens on the inside to influence what happens on the outside, not the other way around. Most people live by having their environment influence their self-esteem, their identity, and basically how they interact with one another. The scriptures are a lot different. It's about the spirit that's within you that expands and interacts with its environment, that sees life differently. And so spiritual formation is about growing that inner life, allowing the inside to influence the outside. And so we've been talking about prayer, perhaps one of the most fundamental of the spiritual disciplines. So why is prayer so important? Why is it so critical to how we see ourselves? Well, first of all, the scriptures are pretty clear that we as people in this time-bound earth experience have a skewed perspective. We see things not as they really are, but as we are. It's kind of like if you will, having cataract surgery. Your eyes, the lenses begin to haze over with darkness and with anxiety, with fear, with greed and self-desires, putting yourself centered. We need to reorient our perspective to what's really going on. So the first thing that we do is often think about changing our perspective and seeing the world through the lenses that God provides for us. The second reason is because sin often changes our priorities. We focus on what's in our best interest. And as children, we recognize that's not always a good idea, that God has bigger plans. He sees our future, what He created us to be. And yet sin often diminishes and it demeans who we really are. And finally, because we live a stressed life, right? There's so many pressures now, there's so many demands, so much communication. What prayer does is it calms all that down. It's like the disciples on the Sea of Galilee. In the midst of a tempest of social, political, economic turmoil, what are we going to do now? Jesus stands up. He rebukes the winds and the waves and says, "Peace, be still." We all need that from time to time. We need prayer to settle us down, remember who we are and whose we are, and recognize that we're not God. We can't control these situations, but we trust the one who does. Well, last Sunday, we took sort of the last stanza of the Lord's Prayer. It's sort of the culmination. It elevates it from just something that we do Sunday morning, but elevates it to an experience of worship. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. It was something that was added on to the Lord's Prayer as it was in the Gospels in order to make it a moment of worship, of elevation. It takes that experience, that moment of adventure where we invite God, please provide us with our daily bread. Keep us hungry. Keep us longing for greater things, not to become satisfied with the status quo. Forgive us our trespasses, just as we forgive others. Help us be self-reflective, not always seeing the log in the other person's eye or the splinter in the other person's eye, but the log in our own eye. And deliver us from evil. Keep us on the right path. We're so tempted to just follow our nose to what's the easiest thing to do. Help us to understand, Father, that not all the pain in our lives, all the challenges are for punishment, but they're to draw the very best out of us. And so we then elevate it. We can ask these things because yours is the kingdom, yours is the power and the glory. It elevates us and says, thy will be done, not us, but what you would have us do. And then it helps us to focus not on just this momentary happening in our experiences, this time-bound experience, but to raise our gaze a little bit forever and ever. God is much more interested in the impact of our eternal experience, our souls in the kingdom that yet to come. We're so concerned about what am I going to do today or this week. Our focus is so narrow, our perspective so limited, that at the very end we need to lift our gaze forever and ever. That's a really long time, something that's almost beyond our comprehension. But the Lord's Prayer, every time we pray it, we invite God to do what only He can do. He has the power. He is the kingdom. He is the final authority. And so we give that all over to God forever and ever. I hope these last couple of weeks has really helped raise your experience of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, that sense of community. Thy kingdom come. Break into our world in a brand new way. Not my will, but thy will be done. To release our desire to control events, the anxiety and the fear. Are they going to go the way I want them to? But I guarantee that with God's hand on them, it'll all turn out just fine. And that alleviates so much anxiety. Well, friends, next week we're going to start a new chapter. We're moving from spiritual formation into spiritual disciplines. I hope that you'll join us and continue to experience these. Share them if you will, and be a part of the solution of what God is doing here and now. And friends, until we get together next time, continue to focus on the faith that you've been given beyond Sunday morning. Until next time, God bless.